I'm Bambi Francisco. If you're a bit overwhelmed with social networks and the social media across the internet, you might try Brizzly. Its aim is to be the simple way to experience the social web. Joining me to talk about Brizzly is founder and CEO Jason Schellen. Jason, thank you for joining me. Brizzly simplifies the way we experience the web. How so?
Well, actually, what Brizzly does is we let you associate your Twitter account or your Facebook account or both with our service. And when you take a look at Twitter, we simplify it by making you feel at home on Twitter rather than needing to click to a bunch of different places. So one of the things that you'll notice when you use Brizzly with a Twitter account is we expand photos and videos in line. And a lot of people are using these URL shortening services, so you're not quite sure what you're clicking on these days on the web. You're clicking on a bit.ly link or something like that. So what we do is we expand those so you can see that you're clicking on the New York Times or Vader TV. Yeah, once you've tried Twitter with YouTube inline playable, or Flickr or TwitPic or YFrog, any of those photos inline, I think you'll be
So you don't jump away from it. You actually
right.
Are
You
staying
see all
there.
of this stuff in line.
Is that sort of similar to FriendFeed, the way FriendFeed used to aggregate a number of feeds?
FriendFeed did do a lot of that sort of aggregation. Although I think the way that they were set up was a little bit different. That it was more about you go in and you associate all of your services and then publish them out. And this is much more on the consumption side. So we're sort of using the existing social graphs that you have from Twitter or from Facebook and showing that in a new and different way for you.
So explain that. So you're really trying to increase consumption of your
We're trying to, as we say, simplification. There are a number of things that we do within Brizzly, but I think that a good way to think about it would be as like a social media reader. So, I had worked on Google Reader at Google a few years ago, and that sort of changed the way that people would consume blogs.
Right.
So rather than having to go to a bunch of different places to consume them, it was all in one spot.
Got it.
So this is sort of the same thing, that you consume Twitter through Brizzly and interact with Twitter and Facebook through Brizzly, and it's just sort of a one-stop shop. And that's as opposed to
jumping from one place to another.
Exactly.
But Power.com tried to be sort of that aggregator of, I mean, I guess they're still around, they're doing that.
Sure.
They're trying to be the aggregator of all of these social networks.
Sure.
What other places, if it's like Google Reader, if that's the analogy, Google Reader, really, I mean, there's hundreds, thousands, millions of websites that you can bring into Google Reader to read. I actually have Google Reader. So for yours as a social media reader, beyond Facebook and Twitter and Vader, of course, I think that's in your pipeline, right? What is it that you're going to be aggregating?
Well, I
or
think,
allow people to aggregate?
I guess I should mention that one of the ways that we treat things differently than some of the other companies that you had mentioned is that we don't actually blend items together. So it's not as if I'm looking at a view of my friends on Facebook and my friends on Twitter blended together.
Right.
We treat those as very distinct and separate things, and I think that speaks to people's normal social graph. The way that you speak in the supermarket is different than the way you talk at home, and there are different groups and different discussions that you would have. So
I have Brizzly, so I can jump and toggle back from my Facebook and my Twitter.
Right. And that's not
page.
to say that at some point in the future we wouldn't offer a blended view. There are certainly a few
Be
users of the service.
to mix the bears.
Yeah, we have to make sure the bears get along. We have a very cuddly, lovable Brizzly bear logo.
Facebook with the Twitter outfit.
Exactly. He's wearing
outfit.
the good old college outfit.
Right.
But I think in terms of simplification, I think we also come from a very strong content creation background. We're users of Flickr, users of Blogger, users of all these different tools, and we know that sometimes if you were to aggregate these things all together, you offer a different community. And that's not necessarily what we're trying to do right now.
Right, right. So then what would you add then? So you have, right now I have Facebook, now Twitter. Over the next 6 months, how many different social media can I bring in?
I'm not sure how aggressive we're going to be about bringing in new things. We've certainly had requests to add LinkedIn or Vader and things like that. I'm not quite sure how aggressive we're going to be on that because really what we were trying to do is be scientists about this and start with an experiment. And the first experiment was, can we build a lot of value on top of Twitter? Can we build a framework where we do things like expand photos and videos in line? We actually changed the way that direct messaging works. It operates a lot more like IM from within Brizzly, if you've ever sent or received a message there. The search is actually richer because we show the photos and videos in line and the expanded links. And we've incorporated Twitter lists. You can create a list that is synced with Twitter. The creation process is really easy. So it's not necessarily about doing something crazy, revolutionary on top of Twitter. It was all of these little enhancements combined to be like a very powerful consumption app.
How do you use it? How are most people using Brizzly?
I think that they keep that open all day, that's the thing that they have open as a tab to check in on their friends and see what's going on. We also we released just a very simple photo hosting tool as well. So a lot of people use a third-party application to do that. We just added a little button, upload a photo, and people are using that like crazy now too.
Now, who would you say your competitors are? Would Seismic be a competitor, and are you different because
Sure.
they're download and plug-in and you're not? Or
so I would say that we're very different in that right now all we have is a web application. We don't have a download or a mobile.
Do you plan on having
yet.
that?
Some of those things we definitely are in the early stages of investigating, and some we're a little further down the road on, but I don't have anything to announce now. I would say that in terms of competition, like I said, I think for ourselves what we're trying to do is provide a lot of value to users. So we're not, aiming to take anyone out. We have a very, thou shalt not kill attitude about most of that. That what we're really trying to do is grow our own existing base of people who are excited and happy with what we're doing and listening really closely to users about what comes next.
How many users do you have now?
We're not disclosing that publicly, but it's definitely in the tens of thousands, and it's a number that we're happy with.
Okay, Jason, stick around. We're going to talk about some of the lessons from Google Reader, how you're applying it to Brizzly, and also your business model.
Sounds great.
I've been speaking with Jason Schellen. He's the CEO and founder of Brizzly. I'm Bambi Francisco.